The Power of Habit is a 400-page methodical exploration of nature and the machinery of our habits. Much more importantly, it is also a manual on how to train yourself out of the bad ones. So, get ready to learn how habits work and how to change the ones you don't like. The Habit Loop. How habits work. According to a 2006 paper published by a Duke University researcher, more than 40% of the actions we perform each day aren't actual decisions, but habits. The reason is simple. Our brain is constantly on the lookout for new ways to save energy, so when it notices a sequence of actions with a beneficial result, it converts it into an automatic habit and stores it in a primitive part of the brain called the basal ganglia. In general, all habits share a similar pattern and can be broken down into a three-step loop. First, there is the external cue, that is, the trigger that tells your brain to go into automatic mode and which habit to use. This can be anything from the familiar music of an ice cream truck to the smell of fresh coffee in the morning. Then, there is the routine itself, the most obvious element of a habit, the behavior you wish to change, e.g., nail biting, or reinforce, e.g., taking the stairs instead of the elevator. Finally, there is the reward that helps your brain figure out if this particular loop is worth remembering for the future. The reward can be anything from a chocolate bar to an episode of your favorite TV show. The craving brain. How habits are powered. Over time, this habit loop, cue, routine, reward, becomes more and more automatic. The cue and reward become intertwined in such a way that a powerful sense of anticipation and craving emerges, writes Duhigg. It is this craving that powers the habit loop and gives habits their strength. When the cue and reward are automated, we can't help but hunger after the latter every time we're exposed to the former. Listening to the tinkling music of a roving ice cream truck creates anticipation of a sugar-fueled joy inside our brain, but also activates a neurological pattern associated with desire and frustration. If you don't get that vanilla-flavored ice cream in a cone or a dish, the joy turns into a craving that, if left unsatisfied, drives you to anger and depression. In the case of strong habits, wanting evolves into an obsessive craving that forces our brains into autopilot, even in the face of strong disincentives, including loss of reputation, job, home, and family. This is why some people can't help but cheat their significant others or gamble away their family's savings. Unless they don't do that, their brains will go into overdrive with anger and frustration, getting hold of their entire bodies. The golden rule of habit change. The bad news is twofold. First of all, the basal ganglia, as we already noted, is quite primitive, so it is unable to tell the difference between bad and good habits. The only thing it understands are rewards in the present. If it doesn't get them now, it will turn against you until you obey its will. Secondly, the habit loop is just too powerful to be broken apart. You can try to get rid of a bad habit as much as you want to, but the basal ganglia will eventually get the better of you because cravings are much more potent than willpower. It's like trying to separate powerful magnets. You need a lot of force and energy to keep the cue and the reward apart from each other, but this is both physically and psychologically draining. Sooner or later, you'll grow tired and fall back into the old bad habit once again. Fortunately, there is some good news as well. Namely, even though you can never truly extinguish your bad habits by doing away with the habit loop, you can undeniably short-circuit it and transform your bad habits into good ones. All you need to do is adhere to a simple instruction, the so-called golden rule of habit change. Keep the old cue and deliver the old reward, but insert a new routine in between. That's the rule, writes Duhigg. If you use the same cue, and provide the same reward, you can shift the routine and change the habit. Almost any behavior can be transformed if the cue and reward stay the same. The golden rule has influenced treatments for alcoholism, obesity, obsessive-compulsive disorders, and hundreds of other destructive behaviors, and understanding it can help anyone change their own habits. A 4-step framework for habit change. Changing habits is neither fast nor easy. However, thanks to the golden rule, you can reshape almost any habit, provided that you dedicate enough time and effort. Since there are so many habits, there isn't really a single formula for changing them, but the following 4-step framework, though merely a practical guide, is a great place to start. Identify the routine. Since the routine is the most obvious part of the habit, this is the easiest step. In the case of Duhigg, the habit he wanted to change was going to the cafeteria every afternoon and buying a chocolate chip cookie, a practice that caused him to gain weight. For you, it can be anything from smoking to procrastination to watching too much Netflix. Experiment with rewards. Now that you've identified the routine you want to change, the second step is to discover something far less obvious: the nature of the craving that glues the cue and the reward together. Most cravings are obvious in retrospect, but incredibly hard to see when we are under their sway. So, to figure this out, you need to experiment a bit with the rewards. To determine which craving was driving his routine of eating a chocolate chip cookie every afternoon at his company's cafeteria, Duhigg tried many substitutions: eating the cookie on the balcony or at his desk, eating an apple or a donut, going to the cafeteria merely to chat with his friends, etc. It isn't really important what you choose to do instead of the routine you want to change. The point is to test different hypotheses to see when the urge will finally be satisfied. For example, if Duhigg was driven by hunger, then the apple would do the trick. If his craving was for some respite from office work, then walking around the block would be an effective substitute for a chocolate chip cookie. Either way, Duhigg suggests writing the first 3 things that come to your mind after testing each activity, to force momentary awareness of your thoughts and feelings and to trigger a wave of recollection for a future moment. Isolate the cue. At this point, you should know both the routine and the reward, in addition to the craving the reward satisfies. Thank you for watching. Please kindly remember to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more videos like this.